Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. It has been a little while since I've done one of these. I took that hiatus I mentioned and it was a little longer than I had initially intended, but you know what, I got used to not having to do these. Anyways, today I'm going to be doing a self-portrait, which is something which I intended on doing ages ago, but I couldn't be bothered. Well, it's not that I couldn't be bothered, it was that I couldn't be bothered to do it as an art show video, because if memory serves, I did do one last time. That was the side profile, yeah. But this one, anyways, I'm doing a new one. I'm going to be showcasing some of the new techniques that I've been using in recent memory, because that's generally the point of doing one of these, for me at least, is to do that. Showing off some of the newer stuff that I tend to do. I'll be maybe talking a little bit about doing likenesses and stuff like that, because in the normal ones of these videos I do normally have topics. Yes, it's been so long since I've done just a normal one of these that I forgot that. But yeah, maybe talk about likenesses, maybe talk a little bit about kind of digital painting, stuff like that, because that's one of the techniques we'll be talking about. Anyways, on with the video. Oh yeah, this will be the last time you're going to see this intro, because they're going to have a new intro next time and a new logo as well, so I don't know why I keep pointing at you. Anyways, on with the show. Okay, so yeah, this is the picture I took of myself the other day. Don't mind the fan; it's framed like it's a picture of like you and your friends, but the fan is just there. I mean, these days the fan does feel like a friend, because dear God, it is rather necessary given the temperatures that have been going on currently. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, I decided to do a slightly different expression. I went for something a little bit more normal, a normal human expression, which is something I rarely do. Ordinarily, I tend to go for kind of goofy expressions or a very intense kind of angle, hence the side profile. This is just kind of pretty normal 3/4 shot, but with like a slight head tilt to that direction, ever so slight. And yeah, again, my hair is shorter now, and as is my facial hair, so yeah, that makes doing this picture a lot. That made doing this picture a lot easier. But yeah, I'm wondering if there's anything I need to go through beforehand, because a lot of the topics I want to talk about are much later. But maybe I should mention briefly the likenesses thing. So, likenesses, i.e., capturing the appearance of somebody by creating a likeness, something close enough, an approximation to how someone looks. Now with me, again, I have my own face, so it's within reason I do know what I look like, so it's not as hard for me to capture my own features. However, that said, it can be a double-edged sword of, well, I know what I look like and I look normal, so how do I capture my own features? Well, you need to be somewhat analytical about how you do this. So for example, I got a pretty big nose. That's a feature that kind of needs to stay, is the big nose. I also have these forehead lines, which are very strong, and those are the kind of big ones. I have these little lines here, little lines underneath my eyes. Big eyebrows. Again, these are basic features, but they're things which do contribute to creating a likeness. So for example, I shouldn't be adding any kind of like cheekbone lines or anything like that, because I don't have very defined cheekbones. At least, well, I do currently with the way that the light hits me in the camera, but not in this. So it doesn't fit necessarily, and you can see here my cheekbone is defined by the edge of my face, but that's enough. I don't need to do any more. I don't need to go in here and add a line that shows my cheekbone, because it's not as visible. It's generally not that visible ordinarily. And so yeah, I can have just these lines here that come down into my cheek and then down into my chin. So I don't need to go too crazy with a lot of the lines. So this is the thing, and again, with the hair I can just kind of go willy-nilly, because my hair is quite messy. Well, it's a bit frizzy, because you can see here where it parts, it gets always very frizzy. I mean, that was even in all the portraits that I do of myself, which, I mean, I haven't done that many, but yeah, in the portraits that I do of myself, I tend to have to deal with this kind of messiness, which is often quite difficult. But I think I'll probably change my shirt color, probably. And I'll obviously have to extend this shoulder a little bit, but in the same sense, it would continue that way. But yeah, there's not a huge amount that I have to do in terms of capturing the likeness. But yeah, that's just the kind of basic idea of likenesses. There's often things where people say like, oh, certain likenesses are harder than others. This is obvious. So the one which everyone always brings up is Harrison Ford's likeness is incredibly difficult to replicate because he's got so many distinctive features. And the problem is, it's like, okay, well, he's got a crooked nose, he's got his little crooked smile, he's got a very particular eye shape, he's got a very flat brow, all these things, and whenever you put them all together, sometimes you're not going to be able to replicate them all perfectly. And this is the thing whenever you're capturing a likeness, is that sometimes you aren't going to be able to do every feature perfectly, which is why they call it a likeness and not a replication. Because you want to get something like the person you're replicating, not a beat for beat replication, because if you're going for perfection, you're just going to lose your mind. But yeah, getting as close as you can is what you want. And this is the thing. Sometimes artists have very distinct styles, but they can still capture a likeness. Likeness is not anything to do with style being realistic. You don't have to have a realistic style or any of that stuff to capture a likeness. It's just as it relates to just the features. That's all you need. So for example, this is why caricature happens, because a caricature of someone, it still kind of looks like them, but it is their features exaggerated to such an extreme. And that's the thing, their features are so exaggerated and everything's all over the top, but it could still very clearly look like them, even though it is such an obvious caricature. This is the thing, it's more about just capturing those features, and you can go whichever way you want with them. So again, if you have a very particular style, you can still do likenesses. There's nothing stopping you from doing them. It's just a case of where you need to be particular about the features that you choose, that both adhere to the style and also capture the likeness. But yeah, I think that's enough rambling for now. I think I will start these details, and I might come back in here and there. But yeah, most of the things that I need to talk about, or that I don't need to talk about, that I want to talk about in this video, are to do with coloring. So I will maybe leave it for then to talk about those things. But yeah, anyways, I will do this. I'll do my details on my own face. Again, it's strange to do this stuff, but yeah, it's worth doing every now and then. But yeah, I will do these details, and then I'll be back for colors, because I don't do the dots anymore. I'm quite sick of them. But yeah, I'll talk about that more later.
so high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you.
Okay, so that is my details done. So next I'm going to go on to the colors. Now I mentioned earlier on that I'm not doing the dots anymore. Mostly that is a time-saving technique because I feel like I can get what I want out of the dots. Actually, I've forgotten to do a thing here. I'll do that just here now in a second. Forgot to do a button, but I'll do that in a minute after I come back because I intend on taking a brief break. But yeah, I mentioned I'm not doing the dots anymore. The reason for that is it's mostly a time-saving thing because I feel like, because I mentioned at the start of this, that I'm going to be doing some of the painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my flat colors, is just the block flat color, and then I'm going to paint over that and then get some, tone out of it. And that's where my shading is going to be coming from. Primarily that, and then I'll go over it again with a flat color at a low opacity to just kind of highlight certain things, then light line and all that. So yeah, but mostly what I'm doing there is just to trim certain elements out, which I don't think are very necessary. I don't think the dots are super necessary. They don't help too much, but yeah, I might use them every now and then just for a little bit of extra tone here and there, but I don't need them all the time. There is two things which I need to do here. I put that little bit of pattern there on the collar. I need to put that here as well, and then I need to another button there. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. What I'll do is, actually no, it's probably a better idea to leave it off because that way it's more obvious to me. But yeah, there was a few things which I thought were funny. For example, if you look here, there is a little bit of dandruff in my eyebrow, which I didn't notice whenever I took that picture, but I just thought it was funny whenever I was going through it. But yeah, drawing my hair is actually quite annoying because my hair is very frizzy. So as you can see, I have to do all these like extra little lines around here, but I'm not going to color those in. They're just going to be whichever way. I don't know. I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of kind of adding stylization or anything to this. I might do some stuff color-wise. We'll see, I suppose. But yeah. So yeah, there was a few things which I intended on mentioning. Yeah, my shirt wasn't ironed as well whenever I did this picture. That's also a thing which I noticed. I had a very unironed shirt because, as you can see, it's quite wrinkly and those kind of very harsh, hard wrinkles. But they're helpful for lighting because, as you can see in the picture, there's a lot of harsh light coming around these lines, which are very useful for my purposes. So yeah. But yeah, as you can see, it kind of looks like here in just the base details that I'm lacking a lot of detail in my face. My face is very flat. There's not really much to it. Looks like it looks like kind of like it's lacking all those details. But as you can see, there is these little lines here which I put in mostly as reminders because whenever I'm going back over and doing little bits of painting, these things are going to get their shape. Those lines are going to get what they need. They're going to get that little bit of depth. Everything's going to kind of merge into a kind of more cohesive image. Like, yeah. Trying to think here if there's anything I'm forgetting. I don't think there is. Anyways, I'm going to take a brief little break here, and then when I'm back, I will do the colors. I'll probably touch on a few other things if I can remember them beforehand though. Okay, so now that I'm back from my little break, something I may as well just do these little bits here while I'm talking. But yeah, something which I wanted to mention was the color scheme that I'm going to be going for. Excuse me. Excuse me again. But yeah, the color scheme I'm going to be going for is going to be red, green, blue. It's going to go for RGB. That's what I'm going to roll with. And I'm going to do the thing that I always do in these self-portraits, and I'm going to change the color of my shirt. I always do that because it's easy. And yeah, there's a few effects which I want to do later, but I suppose we'll get to those. We'll cross that bridge whenever we get to it. And yeah, so yeah, as I said, there's a few effects which I want to do those probably won't be too hard, but I will demonstrate them as I'm going. So there'll be a little bit more talking once I get to those bits. I always think to myself, oh, I'm not talking enough in this video. I always mention this as well. I'm not talking enough in this video, and then whenever I go through and edit it, I feel like, man, I wish I wouldn't talk so much so that I could edit this faster. But yeah, this is, I suppose, the double-edged sword of this process. Make this line a little thicker, just in general. Ugh, I'm not even gonna detail these buttons at all. I'm just gonna leave them as is. You can tell what they are, more or less. Yeah, so now I gotta do this. Because that's how I've set this up. Okay. Was that everything I wanted to do? I think so. I was thinking maybe about adding my eyelashes, because something which I was thinking was, oh no, I look a little flat. But I think whenever I'm doing the shading, that will fix that problem. I mean, I can always go back and add them if I need to, because I've still got the picture. But yeah, so now it is time for the colors. What I will do is I'll use myself obviously as reference here for my colors. And yeah, you can tell that's the color of skin that I've got going on here. Very red skin tone I have. Well, part of this is also because the image is washed out. Oh yeah, something worth noting is that my lips were very chapped whenever I did this. That's why they're kind of glossy, because I had to put on lip balm. So yeah, I'm gonna want to pick. I want to pick a skin tone which matches. Which matches with what's going on. Sorry, the dog is barking. Which matches with the color tones that I'm going to be using. I don't want to go too pink. I don't want to go too yellow. Maybe bring it up a tiny bit more. Tiny bit more. Maybe even make it a little paler, because I am a very pale man. Maybe roll with that. Well, I'll probably adjust it anyways. We'll see. Anyways, I'll be back once the colors are done. Okay, so now it is time for the shading, which here, technically speaking, this is the first chunk of shading. I'm just going to leave this on its ditch a little bigger. Make it about that size for our brushes. So, I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to maybe keep it at like 80%. We want it to be strong. So, in terms of our dark color, so the way that I do the painted shading is I do it on a layer by layer basis throughout. So here I'm going to start hair, skin, then green. I don't shade the eyes. But yeah, so we're going to grab the hair color and I'm going to say, what's our darker color going to be? I'm thinking, because we're sticking to RGB. Question is, should the darker color be blue, or should the darker color be red? I think the darker color should be red and the lighter color should be blue. Sounds about right. So we're gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with a color like that. Then we're going to just paint this over, and we're going to go bit by bit. I need to take this off for a second. Darkest on the left, light on the right. That's how I'm gonna go light right. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna paint, basically go over this with paint. That's all it is, really. There's not too much to it. And the video is stretching on a little bit, and I'm getting very warm, so I don't want to keep this going for too long. But yeah, so I'm just gonna basically, I'll even start here. So you'll see that these are watercolor brushes, so I just need to kind of like stack them over each other. Then I can be very haphazard about it, and it should work, but sometimes we'll get these bits because technically speaking I'm working with a bigger canvas here than I would normally do. So this is going to be doing a lot of these little circles to catch up with me. So yeah, in the interest of time, I will begin to skip. Okay, so that is our painted shading done. Hopefully that came across nicely in the sped up dimension. But yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get more kind of generically bright and dark versions of the colors that we want. And we're going to use those for the shading, the more normal shading. So I'll change my brushes back to the normal ones, and then I will bump this up to probably 70 again, because that seems to be about a decent size, more or less. Yeah, that's good. And so I'll now go over this for the fine details of shading. This probably won't take too long. Then I'll do a light line, probably shoot out a background in a pretty quick order. I have an idea for what I want to do for the background anyways. It shouldn't take too long. But yeah, so I will do this. I'll probably, if it's quick enough, I'll just bundle in the light line as well. And then I'll be back to do the background, then our gradient map, stuff like that. So I think, yeah, we'll do that. Alright. Okay, so that is our shading completely done. That is our light line completely done. and it is the sun is going down. So in the interest of time, I'm going to try and keep the background brief. So I'm not going to keep this blue. I'm going to go for a green, a different green than what I've already gone for here. I'm going to go for, I'm going to actually make it more of a neutral green, something around here. Slightly on the more kind of lime scale. Well, yeah, that's kind of dead middle green, if slightly closer to the other one. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna need to create a folder for me. Just do this, because what I'm going to do, I closed the folder like an idiot. What I'm going to do is, actually I don't need the picture, so I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to do a duplicate. I'm going to put it underneath. I'm going to, I'm going to have to make gradient maps for this. This is going to take a minute. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and create that 3D effect. And yeah, I do unfortunately need to make gradient maps. This is probably an easier way of doing this that I can't think of right now. But yeah, let's try and expedite this process as much as possible. Actually, maybe I should do this. Turn that off for a second, yeah. So, yeah, because I had a feeling that that was wrong. So, right, okay. Let's go for this. Get the green. We're going to make this one red. And make it, bring it up here. We're going to get this part. I'm going to make it dark red. Maybe even lower this one, it's a little too intense, I think. Make it about there. Something which is kind of pale. Okay, we'll go with that. That is, or that one. Maybe we want the black to be slightly further up on the scale so that it's a little bit more invisible, something like that. Okay, and so now we're going to create a duplicate of this. We're going to create a duplicate of this. Put this one underneath. Create a clipping mask on that. Then bring this one down. Create a clipping mask on that. And then we're going to turn this one off for a second. And then we're going to make this one blue. Again, there's almost certainly an easier way of doing this, but I can't think of it right now. Make it like this kind of blue. And we're going to do the same thing here. And we'll bring it up about there-ish. Maybe even bring this one down a little bit, make it a little paler, so that it's still within. Actually, no, this should be a greenish blue. Should probably be down here a little bit more. Make it this kind of color. And then do the same thing here again. That's too green. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. Right, that should do for that. Now, we're going to want to merge these two layers, more or less. Merge them. Merge them. Oh crap, I left it invisible. Need to make it visible first. Merge them. Right. So now, what we're going to do is, going to hold shift and move this one out here like this. I'm going to hold shift, move this one out here like this. So we've got the kind of vague 3D effect here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the opacity on these down a little bit, I think. That's not necessarily a solution. How do I do this? How do I do this? Hang on, I'll speed things up here while I'm trying to figure out what this is. You know what I'm trying to do here anyways. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so the sun is basically gone down now. I couldn't figure out a better way of doing this, so we're just sticking with this for now. If I can think of a better way of doing it before the video is done, I will do that. But yeah, this is just, I suppose, a warning to myself in the future that the painting thing does take a while. And yeah, so that's our background done. So we just got a few things left to do. I need to do an actual gradient map. I can just reset that to the black and white. We'll do a full gradient map to do over the whole thing. I'll get my texture as well. I'll do that in a bit. So darkest, we're going to want red as our darkest. And what is our lightest? We're going to want blue. Well, blue is our lightest. And then in the middle, we're going to want green. Perhaps more of a yellow. Yellow-green. Maybe we're going to want this to be more red. More red. Okay, we're going to need to vary this up a little bit, I think. Right, this one needs to be somewhere like there. Like an orange color like that. This green needs to be up a little bit more like that. Then here we will make that like that. Maybe this needs to be adjusted. Bring this down a tiny bit. Bring this up a tiny bit. Red here. Bring this down a tiny bit. It's intense, but this will work more or less. So right, let's set this one to overlay. Whoa! No, turn it down to about 60%, and then make it soft light instead. And then make it 40%. And we're going to do a duplicate. Duplicate there. Yeah. Put it underneath. Luminosity. Make this one 20%. It up actually. 40%. And then we're going to want a color burn, so we're going to want another duplicate. There. And then we're going to want a color burn. We'll make this one 10%. Maybe even 5%. We're just going to want it to be very subtle. Make our colors just a little bit darker. And I'm going to do my signature, grab the texture, and then we will be done. So, where am I going to put this signature? It's kind of hard actually to find a position for it. Let's put it there. That did not come out right. I think there's something wrong with the brush here, because I've been dealing with kind of jaggedy lines all day basically here. That's good enough. It's good enough. Pretty big though actually. Hang on. Zoom in a little bit more for this. I think I need to make the brush smaller, because this is just not happening. Yeah, something wrong with the lines. I don't know what it is. I think maybe my Photoshop is fighting me a little bit today. God, it really is just fighting me. This is the beauty of having digital, at least, is that as many times as you make the mistake, you can just keep redoing it, more or less. There we go, Jesus. You can just keep redoing it until it works. So, I'm going to grab that texture real quick. Would of course been nice had I actually gotten it beforehand. It is very dark in here, very warm in here as well. But yeah. Oh God, yeah, it is deathly warm. I suppose I should probably start signing off. Probably a good idea to do so. Yeah, So yeah, that is more or less us. So if you liked the video, do whatever it is that you'd normally do, whether it be, you know, liking or whatever it is that you'd normally do. And if you want to subscribe, it's the same deal. You've seen a YouTube video before, you know where the button is. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. If you're not, you're not. I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna pressure you. I know how this whole gig works. Yeah, I like how that texture looks. Actually, it's nice and subtle. But yeah, so that is us done. And yeah, if. Oh, so yeah, I said the like thing, I said the subscribe thing. You can ring the bell, I think that's a thing still, I don't know. It's incredibly dark in here and I'm moving around in like 3 frames a second. So, and there's not enough of the video left to justify me standing up and turning on the light. But, yeah. I really forget what the last part of the outro is, I'm going to be honest. It's been months since I've done this. Well, a month. It's probably been actually 2 since I've actually recorded one of these. Give me a second. Yeah. So I suppose I think there's a third thing that I'm forgetting here. But I'm gonna go along with it anyways. I think the third thing is this. Yeah. With all that said, that is us. So, yeah. If you decide to watch the next video, I will see you next time. So yeah, with all that said, that is us. So I will say goodbye and I will leave you so that I can turn this fan on primarily and get some lights on in this place. But yeah, anyways, yeah, bye bye. God, look at that frame rate.